So being stubborn versus being open-minded, what's your take on that, Dominic?
Well, you know, there's a difference between being in the stage 4 consciousness, where you're clear on who you are and what you're about, and you're true to that passion, you're true to that vision, and your purpose, and you're staying steadfast. But at the same time, there's a difference between someone who's defending themselves. I say that people who defend themselves are the ones who are destined to repeat the same problem over and over again. Because defending yourself is about safety. And defending yourself is the lowest form of existence there is. I know that sounds pretty brutal, but it's true. Never defend anything. Anytime someone has feedback, someone shares something with you, you might not see it in the moment or even agree with it, but oftentimes if someone says something to me, I'll say, well, you know, I don't really see that right now, but thanks for the feedback. I'll chew on that later and reflect and see if I could find where maybe that is true. So I never defend.
So you're not absorbing it at all?
Well, it's different than absorbing or not absorbing. I'm not defending, and I'm growth-oriented, which means that I'm going to receive what they have to say, and I'm going to chew on it. Where is it true? Where is it not true? And why would they be sharing that? So enlightenment is the ability to see something from multiple perspectives at the same time. So when someone is sharing with you feedback, rather than defend, why not try and perceive it from their point of view and saying, why would they be seeing it that way? And how can I learn from that or grow from that? Different than accepting that that's who I am and that's what I'm about.
If say here's an example. Say somebody is attacking what you do for a living, and they're saying, "Oh, what you do, it's no good. It doesn't work. Whatever their thing is." How would you respond to that? Would you do what you just said and just go, "I see. I hear what you say." Like, how would
well, I could share with you exactly how I think I would handle it. When I first got exposed to this type of care, I thought it was a hose. I'm like, wait a minute, you're going to make these gentle touches, you're going to breathe in certain areas, and you're going to shift someone's body like that? You're not even doing anything. It's super light touches. I mean, what could that possibly do? I laid down, the practitioner did the network care, I did the consciousness exercises before I left, and it was interesting, when I went to leave, I was like, oh wow, he's got vaulted ceilings. I didn't even know he had vaulted ceilings. It's because my body was so opened up that I was actually looking at the ceiling now instead of looking at the floor. My shoulder issues, I did 9 months of physical therapy on my shoulder, and after getting worked on, I think it was the second time or the third time, my shoulder was 80% improved. And the guy didn't, and here I'm doing physical therapy, which was painful and stretching and digging into the muscles and all this stuff, and I had minimal improvement. And this guy made these little touches and had me do these conscious exercises, and I had complete transformation of my shoulder. So from the outside, I could totally see how someone would look at what we do and be like, wait, I have a big problem. I need a big invasive procedure. The bigger the problem, the more invasive it needs to be, right? It's that linear mind. But the reality is when someone's upset, you don't talk louder, you talk softer. Mm-hmm. When someone doesn't feel safe, you don't be rough with them and aggressive. Instead, you be gentler and softer and more compassionate. So the opposite is true. Women get that. Men seldom get that analogy. But
so you don't defend yourself. You just calmly respond to what they say?
I've been there. I completely see that perspective, and I agree with them 100%. Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever that we could do this exercise, but yet people have that profound effect. It's not linear. It's actually non-linear. I actually agree with them. And my experience has been that when people feel that I can see it from their perspective and I have no defense, it drops their defense. Because they feel understood. They feel heard and understood. At that point, there's nothing to defend and it just melts away.
Oh, that's excellent.
And that's a metaphor for life. You can do that in any industry. And I'm not BSing them. I'm being real with them. Like they see that I'm seeing it from their perspective. Once people feel heard, they feel understood, defenses drop.
You just validate that you heard what they had to say. You don't need to defend yourself. And that's it. That's the end of it.
Yeah, it's the height of insanity when you have two people defending their perspective and their point of view. And they're debating. The whole idea of a debate to me is insane. Because you have two people saying, okay, who's the best at defending their point of view?
There's no
It's complete because they're walking away, and one's the winner and one's the loser. But the reality is nobody wins, because it's all about what can I do to understand this person so that their defenses are down, so they could understand my point of view. I'm going to say success is when both people walk away feeling though that they're heard, acknowledged, and understood.
Yeah.
That's a win-win as compared to a win-lose, which is not only not sustainable, but actually creates more conflict.
Yeah. That's interesting. I could go on for hours talking about that. There's always that one person in the room that's the blowhard that loves to talk but doesn't listen to, you know? The people that you want to have a dialogue with somebody and then they're just talking and they don't hear you.
Well, oftentimes those people have never had someone sit with them and felt as though they were heard and understood. So it perpetuates.
So they constantly talk over because they want to be heard, perhaps.
That need has never been satiated. Maybe at an early age they didn't have someone who was present with them and listened to them, so that wound has literally into your 40s, 50s, and 60s, they'll still have that same behavior. And all along, it's just the need to feel heard and understood.
How would you treat that with network care?
Well, understand whatever's going with them is an inside job. So we would have them do the consciousness exercises that satiate that stage of development, and it is. And that's really what the consciousness exercises are. At different ages, different stages of development or consciousnesses get developed. So when someone comes in, you get a real good feel for where was that consciousness not developed and lacking, and how that's showing up in their life. And then what can we do to help them develop that stage of consciousness? A lot like cross-crawling, you know, with adults that aren't very coordinated or have a challenge with coordination, they have adults get on the ground and crawl around like an infant. And what they're finding is that even as an adult, doing the cross-crawling exercise can increase the link between left and right hemisphere of the brain and increase their coordination.
Wow.
Just as that stage of development wasn't satiated when they were 3 or 4 months old crawling around, but is still available to be satiated to some extent later on, well, maybe these other consciousnesses are just as available to be satiated and just as hungry to be satiated and available. And from our experience, they are. And with time and repetition, it's amazing to see the person transform.